Alright, so we're finally checking out the Jumper T15, a new radio here. You can see it's got a very large color touchscreen incorporated into a case that's about the size of the Boxer. It's the same size as the T14, which I reviewed a while back. And so, given this kind of change here with this large screen built into the smaller form factor, we don't have anything like this from Radiomaster, so I think Radiomaster's got a little bit of catching up to do. Hopefully they'll be making a version of the Boxer with this color touchscreen. It's I think it's 3.5 inches, 480 by 320 is what the specs say. This does come in 7 colors. This is, I forget, some kind of version of purple. It's you know, the build quality on the Jumper radios has improved gradually over time compared to when the original T16 came out a few years ago. That had some quality control issues, and that, I think, are basically days gone by. The radios, the last few Jumper radios I've reviewed, the T20, the T14, and now the T15 here, I would say the build quality is now pretty close to Radiomaster quality. Obviously I haven't done a teardown and gone inside and looked at every little solder joint. Just looking at the outside build quality, I'd say it's pretty close. And I said, as I mentioned, they just have 7 different colors now. This is purple. I'll put a little thing up here that shows the other colors. If you go to the product page, you can see what our colors are available. So if you have a particular taste, you don't like purple, you want like white or black or whatever, then yeah, those are also available. Go ahead and take a look around the radio. We got your standard Hall sensor gimbals here that we've seen on the T20 and the T14. It's not an all metal gimbal. It's a combination of metal and plastic. It is Hall sensor. I personally like this gimbal better than the AG01s that are on the Radiomaster. So a lot of the Radiomaster fanboys are going to be just rolling in their graves when I say that. But this is my personal preference. I'm not a gimbal snob. I think these work just fine. Some people want, the super large, super tall sticks and all that kind of stuff. For me, this is totally fine. It's a good gimbal, very accurate, doesn't have a lot of jitter. The basic, I guess the form factor of this radio is pretty much identical to the T14. So putting these side by side, and you can see it's got the same gimbals, got the same switches on top, dials, power button, but you can see where the differences are in the center area with those additional buttons. And of course, the much larger screen, color screen instead of black and white. The buttons and scroll wheel, still plastic, of course. They feel fine, they work just totally, as expected. Do have these additional lights, light up buttons here for system and telemetry, and then you have the 6 position switch here, which lights up as a button, and you get your 5D dials here for the trim on each gimbal. 3 position switch here, 3 position switch here, another 3 position switch. Another 3 position switch, and then you have your dials, and you got your same latching switch over here and momentary switch here. Got your little covers here for your antenna if you want to do some antenna modifications. If you don't like the traditional standard antenna, just rotate and fold down. Kind of thinking that they're probably going to make a Gemini version of this with a Gemini antenna at some point in the future. If that interests you, let me know down in the comments below, and Jumper will probably read that. Trainer port here, you have your DFU button for firmware updates, and then you have your USB-C port for charging and data transfers, and it does 10-watt fast charging now, so pretty nice. Nothing here on the bottom. Got your standard rubber grips here on the side, feel fine. JR Bay module in the back, got a fan here for cooling. It does have a 1-watt Express LRS transmitter inside, just like the T14. The one that you're going to see in most places is a 2.4 gigahertz transmitter. So if you're looking for the 915 megahertz or 868 megahertz transmitter, you'll have to contact Jumper directly. They do make a version of those 2 other ones, but those are not as popular. So they typically don't store those. A lot of stores don't stock those. So if you want those versions, you'll have to contact Jumper directly. Got your battery door in the back here, and the battery tray does take 21700s, but if you sort of use some pliers and pull the little tabs out for the battery, I guess the battery holder here, then you could put 18650s in here. So I have 18650s inside here, so you need 2 of those, but they're actually sized for 21700s, so something to keep in mind. And got your folding handle again, just like on the T14. So again, basically it's the T14, except you have these buttons here, then the larger screen. Of course, it's a touch screen. And go ahead and power this up. It's got EdgeTX, of course, 2.10. And you can see here, it is a full touch screen, so you can do all your EdgeTX stuff as usual, just via the touchscreen. You manage your models. You can go into your system settings here, and you can use the touchscreen to scroll if you want, or you can use the scroll wheel. Either way works. So, yeah. Nothing new here. We've already, if you have a T16, you already have the touchscreen, or some of the other larger radios have the color touchscreen. It works exactly the same way as it does on the other EdgeTX radios. And by the way, they did tell me that this T15 here is now going to replace the T16. They're retiring or discontinuing the T16. So for those of you guys that are into the giant radios, big heavy giant radios, I'm not sure how many people are actually still into those anymore, which is probably why they're discontinuing them. But if you are, then you probably want to pick up a couple spares if you can find them in a store, somewhere, because they are being discontinued. And this is the radio that is going to be moved forward here. And I think this is a good form factor for the large radio now. It's before, I guess people were calling this a mid-size radio, but now we're gonna have a large. I guess this is going to be the new large radio, because it's going to have the large color touchscreen in this form factor. Personally, for me, I think this is a large radio. It's pretty big, but I've always not preferred the really large radios like the T16. I've never used those, but I could see myself potentially using something this large if I want the 1 watt transmitter. Personally, for me, I tend to use the smaller radios, but that's just my personal subjective, opinion on radio size. And just quickly, the rest of the stuff that comes in the box, you get the case, of course. You get this gimbal and switch protector that goes on top. And this is like some sort of injection molded plastic TPU. USB-C cable for data transfers and charging. Get a neck strap. Get a spare set of springs. And you get a screen protector. There's actually one already installed, but if you want a little bit nicer one, you could swap those up. I just left the original on there. And again, just comparing the size of these two side by side, the T14 and the T15, virtually identical. I really couldn't see much of a difference between the two, other than, of course, the screen and the extra buttons. So, yeah, for those of you that bought the T14 and were like, wow, I want the bigger screen, well, I guess you might want to upgrade. Of course, there's a big price difference for the bigger screen. It's $160 now for the T15 versus I think it was like $99 for the T14. So you are paying a premium for the touchscreen. All right, so here it is next to the Radiomaster Boxer. This is the original OG Boxer, not the Boxer Max. And these have the standard plastic gimbals, not the AG01 metal gimbals. And of course the smaller screen, but as I probably showed in the T14 video, the Radiomaster Boxer is very similar in size and also in weight. So you can see in terms of the height there, we'll kind of put them, on top of each other. The width is about the same, the thickness, very, very similar. Obviously the T14 and the T15 is trying to sort of replicate the size of the Boxer, which is a very popular size. This is This is a super popular size. A lot of people have this radio. But now, with the color touchscreen here, it's going to be very compelling for a lot of Boxer pilots maybe to upgrade to this one. Of course, you know, there's a lot of hot debate regarding these gimbals. Some people hate them, some people love them. I personally feel they're fine. I don't really have much of an opinion on gimbals. I can fly on absolutely the worst gimbals possible. I really don't care. Some people say that the gimbals make the pilot, but honestly, I think it's the pilot that makes the gimbals. And of course, that's just my personal opinion on that one. I think Radio Master, you've got a goal now to make a Boxer Plus or a Boxer, you know, something V2 with the color touchscreen, because I think a lot of people are going to want that in the Boxer format. Overall, you know, feels exactly as the same as the T14 in terms of the ergonomics, the grip. The build quality is really good. The color is obviously a little bit different. You got this sort of dark blue color there, and you got this purple color here. But the texture is the same. It's kind of got this sort of matte finish. And I think, you know, I think it'll hold up pretty well. And I mean, you know, I'm not sure how it will hold up in terms of like getting dirt and stuff on it, but I think this material here is going to be pretty easy to maintain and keep clean if those are concerns for you. But overall, I think the build quality on this one here is pretty close to Radio Master quality. So there's going to be a lot of people saying that jumper Radio Master or jumper build quality is terrible, and that was probably true a couple years ago when the original T16 came out. I think they've caught up. It's you know, I'm just trying to give you an unbiased opinion. This is my unbiased opinion. I think they've caught up. The build quality is pretty decent now. You know, a lot of people that are Radio Master fanboys who have probably never actually tried any of the newer jumper radios are just going to say the same thing that they've been harping on the last 2 to 3 years, that the jumper quality is bad and you shouldn't buy any jumper radios. But, you know, the last few radios I've looked at seem to be pretty good. That's my opinion. I just wanted to show you exactly what I got here and how I feel about it. And that's my opinion. Anyway, the link will be in the video description if you guys want to check out this radio. I think it's a pretty compelling product. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.